dots, which means they use heat to project ink from the nozzles. The printhead has tiny resistors in it, which heat up when you pass an electric current through them. The heat vaporizes the ink. The ink creates a bubble, which pushes a tiny amount of ink through the nozzle onto the page. When the bubble pops, it creates a vacuum, which pulls more ink into position for the next bubble. This happens at a pretty good clip. We're talking 36,000 times per second with some printers. The ink comes out at high speeds, around 22 miles per hour. The precision of these nozzles has been described as being equivalent to trying to drop a nickel into a bucket sitting on the ground while you stand on a balcony of a 30-story building. Precision is important because it relates to the resolution you get with the finished printed page, measured in DPI, or dots per inch. In general, the higher the number, the better the resolution. For all of this to work flawlessly, the ink must be developed with care. A change in formula could cause a drastic effect on printing. Believe it or not, there's an extensive development and testing period for every type of ink. A particular ink design might take 5 years to perfect. History lesson time. The ink cartridge first made its debut back in 1984 with the HP ThinkJet. Before cartridges, printers used ink-soaked ribbons, the way typewriters do. Ask your parents. Cartridges have some big advantages over ribbons. They are easier to install, they don't tear or snag the way a ribbon can, and the inkjet process is much quieter than the old dot matrix printers. The invention of the thermal bubble nozzle was pure luck. An engineer at HP was experimenting with a method to use thin film technology in integrated circuits. While passing electricity through silicon film, the film superheated and pushed fluid out from under it. The engineer realized that if you could control the movement of fluid, you could create a practical application, and the idea for the thermal inkjet printer was born. A few years after their debut, inkjet printers became the most popular choice for the home consumer. In some inkjet printers, the printhead isn't in the printer itself, it's actually part of the ink cartridge. Moving the printhead to the cartridge leads to less expensive printers. So, let's say your ink cartridge runs out of ink. Should you refill it? It's less expensive than buying a new cartridge, but it tends to make cartridges unreliable and can cause quality problems, costing you more in the long run. It's a better idea to hand your old cartridges over to a recycling program that makes new cartridges from the plastic of older ones. This keeps cartridges out of landfills and also doesn't flood the market with cartridges filled with the wrong type of ink. There are a few ways you can conserve ink. You can decrease the size of font you use. This is similar to what a student suggested when he claimed the US government could save millions of dollars by switching to Garamond font. But Garamond letters are smaller than other fonts at the same point type, so you might as well use your favorite font and just set the size slightly smaller. There are more reliable ways to conserve ink. Many printers and programs have an ink saver or draft mode, which uses less ink per printed page. You end up with a lighter printout and save ink in the process. When you're ready to print a final copy, you can switch this setting and get a dark